Without further ado, I think we'll just go ahead and start into our meeting and with the introductions of the TCEQ presenters. Again, I'm Greg Easley, and let's start to my left here, Shannon.
Hi, I'm Shannon Gibson. I'm the technical specialist for the Water Quality Division.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Saran. I'm the team leader of the land application team.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Villalba, team leader for the stormwater team.
Good afternoon, Hannah Cobos with the stormwater team.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jessica Salamia with the stormwater team as well.
All of the TCEQ folks that will be presenting. And I'll just start with the first agenda item. We're going to go through a couple of permitting program updates to kick off the meeting. And first off, wanted to get give a couple of staffing updates for the Water Quality Division, in particular two leadership positions where we have new folks that have recently started these particular positions. First off, we have Danya Grunman is our new Assistant Deputy Director of the division. She's moving up from her previous role as Special Assistant to the division. And of course, the previous person in that role was Erica Crespo, who unfortunately had to leave the agency. So certainly welcome Danya to her new position. She's been at it for a little while, but it's great to have her in that role. And then secondly, the other change to mention is a new pretreatment team leader, and that is Jessica Alcocer, who recently moved up from being a team member to being a team leader. And she replaced Colleen Cook, the previous team leader, who unfortunately as well had to leave the agency. So those are two new updates as far as leadership positions in the division. And next, we will transition to giving a regular legislative session update. This past 89th session ended recently last month, and it was another busy one for the Water Quality Division. Overall, the division analyzed 120 bills. Of those 120 bills, 26 of those were bills that we took the lead role in coordinating the analysis as the lead program. And I will mention that the 120 bills, that's about nearly double how many we were involved with last session, in the 88th session 2 years ago. So a big step up as far as the activity needed to address all that. Those things with the bills that we analyzed. And so of the 26 bills that we coordinated on, 6 of those actually passed. And so we're going to give some quick updates or summaries of those 6 bills. And I'll just start off with the one that I was involved with, and that is House Bill 3333. That one was introduced by Representative Eddie Morales, and it creates new Texas Water Code section 26.0275, which becomes effective on September 1st of this year. This new statute essentially prohibits TCEQ from issuing any new permits for any domestic or industrial wastewater treatment facilities to discharge into the Devil's River or any of its tributaries or water bodies within its drainage area within Val Verde County. This bill will not affect the ability to issue general or individual permits for municipal separate stormwater systems or of general permits for stormwater and associated non-stormwater discharges. The statute will apply to permit applications that are submitted to the agency on or after September 1st. The bill does not require the TCEQ to initiate rulemaking or any other type of activity. However, the division may choose to add this specific discharge prohibition to our existing watershed protection rules that are in Chapter 311 of the Texas Administrative Code, and it may also provide notice of it in our permitting guidance document, the procedures to implement the Texas Surface Water Quality Standards. And the reason for possibly doing those things would just be to help increase the awareness of the legislation and what it does. So that was the bill I was involved with. I will turn it over to Shannon.
All right, thanks, Greg. I was involved in 3 bills that wound up getting signed. The first is House Bill 609. That was authored by Representative Cody Fassad. And it also was effective on September 1st, 2025. It's relating to the cleaning of structures used to grow oysters for cultivated oyster mariculture. And TCEQ has an existing general permit for aquacultures that regulates oyster mariculture. This particular general permit will be revised to allow for cleaning of oyster mariculture growth structures over water in the state. TCEQ will not be required to conduct rulemaking to implement the requirements of this bill. And we'll go into greater detail on an update of this general permit later on in this work group. The next bill is Senate Bill 1145 by Senators Sparks and Birdwell. It's effective September 1st, 2025. It relates to the authority of the TCEQ to issue permits for the land application of water produced from certain mining and oil extraction operations. This bill requires TCEQ to establish a new permitting program and application review process. And to support this new program, TCEQ will develop application forms, SOPs, and regulatory guidance. TCEQ will be required to initiate multiple rulemakings to implement the requirements of this bill, and we will discuss those later on in a subsequent work group. The third bill will be Senate Bill 2037, authored by Senator Sparks. It's also effective September 1st, 2025, and relates to a permit application review process and contested case procedures for environmental permits involving a project to construct or modify a liquefied natural gas export terminal and authorizes it. TCEQ is going to be required to establish a new expedited permitting program and application review process. To support this program, we will again develop application forms, SOPs, and regulatory guidance. There will be an expedited application fee associated with this new program. TCEQ will be required to initiate rulemakings to implement the requirements of this bill, and we will again provide greater detail on that in the subsequent work group session. Thanks, Greg.
Good, Rebecca.
Okay, so again, I'm Rebecca. I will give you an update on 2 bills that I was the bill coordinator for in this division. So the first one is House Bill 4112. It's effective September 1st of this year. This bill adds a new prohibition for facilities licensed for the disposal of high-level radioactive waste by the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission. We will be, of course, needing to revise the 2023 construction general permit for stormwater to include this prohibition in the current permit, to include this, it already includes a prohibition for storage of waste. So now it's going to be disposal and storage, or storage. We will also need to revise the multi-sector general permit to include this new prohibition. And right now we're currently in the renewal process. Jesse will talk to you a little bit more about that, but we will also need to include the disposal prohibition for this high-level radioactive waste. In addition, of course, we will need to be revising the e-permitting system so that entities attempting to apply that store or dispose of this kind of waste will be prohibited from applying electronically, and they cannot apply at all. The other bill that I was bill coordinator for is Senate Bill 1302. That's also effective September 1st. This bill prohibits TCEQ from using an automatic process to authorize a general permit for entities whose authorization was ever denied or suspended due to an unsatisfactory compliance history rating. Therefore, TCEQ will need to manually review and process an application under a general permit if it meets the bill requirements. For this bill, we are looking at doing a rulemaking. We will need to amend 30 TAC Chapter 205, which is the general permit for waste discharges rule, so that we can implement this bill. We also need to amend or revise the stormwater general permits in addition to most of the other 13 general permits that are administered by the Water Quality Division. So we have 17 general permits total in the division, and most of them will probably need to incorporate this requirement of this bill. So of course, in addition, we will also need to make modifications to the e-permitting system to prohibit entities from automatically receiving an authorization for applications if they have ever been denied or suspended due to the entities having a compliance history rating that was unsatisfactory either during the current year or for any previous year. So this is something that is preventing us from entities applying automatically, getting the authorization right away. We're going to be looking into how this will be implemented. So right now, all of us just pretty much are giving you general overview of these bills, but we are currently working on the implementation plans. What we need to do, we need to do rulemaking or language that we need to do to change the permits, as well as what we might need to do to the electronic permitting system. That's the two bills that I was part of.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Do you have questions?
Rebecca, on that, is it either or they have to meet both, that they have a non-satisfactory compliance rating and they've previously been denied? Or is it or they've previously been denied?
So if they have a non-satisfactory compliance history rating, that always has been in effect. You cannot apply for a general permit. You have to apply for an individual permit. This bill now says that if you've ever been denied or suspended from a unsatisfactory compliance history rating ever, you cannot have an authorization that we automatically process to be permits. We're going to have to do a manual review of the application before we determine if they can go ahead and proceed with it or not. So currently right now, the system, and we only look at this year, currently right now you have an unsatisfactory compliance history rating. You do not get a general permit, you have to apply for an individual permit. But if in 2 years, the compliance history rating improves and is satisfactory or high, then you are again eligible to apply for a general permit. And so then people automatically come back and apply. So now we cannot do that automatically. We're going to need to do a manual review of that application. Over the years, we're thinking it increase the number of applications that we would need to be reviewed manually. So as you can imagine, it will be significant change to our e-permitting process as well.
Stay off the naughty list.
Sure.
They need to stay off the naughty list.
Yes, definitely. So yes, this should encourage people to stay off that list. Hopefully.
Any other questions about the legislation just summarized? Okay. Not seeing any. And then just also to note, if you think of something later, and we already talked about the topic, there is a question and answer session at the end of the meeting. So there'll be another opportunity to ask those questions if you don't think of them at first. So next we've got our general permit updates to provide for you. And Hannah is going to kick off first.
Good afternoon. I will talk about the multi-sector general permit amendment or the MSGP TXRO 50,000, which is different from the renewal that Jesse will speak about. This general permit regulates stormwater discharges from industrial activities and is set to expire on August 14th of 2026. We recently completed an amendment without renewal to the general permit to address the two following items. Firstly, to implement House Bill 1688 from the 88th regular legislative session, which was made effective on September 1st of 2023, to prohibit quarries that are located within water quality protection areas from obtaining stormwater coverage under this general permit, and also to implement House Bill 2771 from the 86th regular legislative session, made effective on January 15th of 2021, which expanded the applicability for non-exempt oil and gas activities. And this revision is in response to the transfer of state and federal regulatory authority to TCEQ for discharges that are associated with crude oil and natural gas exploration, development, and production facilities. The amendment revisions included prohibiting, the general permit now prohibits quarries that are located in the new Coke Stevenson Scenic Riverway from obtaining stormwater coverage under its general permit. We expanded the applicability to include the non-exempt stormwater discharges from industrial activities associated with crude oil and natural gas exploration, development, and production. And this amendment also replaced the EPA-issued NIPD's MSGP TXR05 F000, which was made effective on September 29th of 2021 and is set to expire on February 28th of 2026. The proposed MSGP amendment was presented at Commissioner's agenda recently on May 1st of 2025 and received approval for adoption. The amendment without renewal was made effective on May 7th of 2025. However, due to formatting issues with the table of contents, we had to complete an endorsement to the amendment without renewal to correct these items. And we anticipate providing the updated signed permit by the end of this month or sooner. Please note that this permit amendment does not have any impact on existing permittees, and the expiration date to the MSGP will not change. Existing permittees will continue to operate under the terms and conditions of TCEQ's 2021 MSGP. And those are all the updates I have.
Let's go ahead and move on to Jesse's update, and then we'll take any questions on those if there are any.
Great. So I'll be speaking on the multi-sector general permit TXR 50,000 2026 renewal. Again, this regulates stormwater discharges associated from industrial activities and certain non-stormwater discharges. This permit is set to expire on August 14th of 2026. TCEQ initiated the 2026 renewal of the general permit and is currently in the concept or the developmental phase of the general renewal process. Please note this renewal is to address the expiration of the general permit, which is separate from the amendment that Hannah spoke about earlier that has been effective as of May 7th. TCEQ held a stakeholder meeting to discuss upcoming renewals on November 6, 2024, and received comments from stakeholders until November 20th of 2024. On May 21st, 2025, TCEQ sent the drafted MSGP to EPA for their 90-day review and is expected to be returned by August 19th of 2025. The major changes proposed are as follows. Moving the tables listed in the regulated SIC codes and the North American Industrial Classification codes from Part 2 of the 2021 MSGP to Appendix A. This will allow the reader to scroll to access the permit requirements instead of scrolling over 70 pages of tables prior to the requirements. The 2017 NAICS codes were updated in 2022 by the NAICS Codes Association. TCEQ updated the SIC NAICS codes tables to reflect these changes in the MSGP. We added the definition of high-level radioactive waste and parts 2 of the permit to include the provision to prohibit authorization of discharges associated with the operation of a facility that is licensed for the storage of high-level radioactive waste by the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission. This revision implements House Bill 7 of the second special session of the 87th Legislature 2021. We removed the SIC code 1231 for anthracite mining from Sector H of the SIC NAICS code tables because it's not applicable to the state of Texas. The Occupational Health and Safety Administration, OSHA, SIC manual description of this SIC code only includes facilities located in Pennsylvania. We clarified in Part 2, subsection D9, that applications must be submitted to any municipal separate storm sewer system receiving discharges, whether the MS4 is regulated or not by TCEQ. We added in Part 2, subsection A, the option of preparing and maintaining an electronic SWIP for the consistency of the construction general permit, TXR 150,000. We added in Part 2, subsection D to B, that substantially similar outfalls may not be established for the water quality monitoring requirements. This was already included in the permit. We just felt that we needed to readdress it in this particular part of the permit. We propose to change 6 benchmark levels based on data collected and analyzed during the current permit term, and they are as follows. For section C, we lowered phosphorus from 1.25 milligrams per liter to 0.78 milligrams per liter. For sectors K and S, we lowered ammonia and nitrogen from 1.7 milligrams per liter to 1.0 milligrams per liter. For sectors C, E through H, L, M through O, Q, and AA, we lowered iron from 1.3 milligrams per liter to 1 milligram per liter. For sector K, we lowered cyanide from 0.02 milligrams per liter to 0.01 milligrams per liter. For sectors C, G, J, U, and AA, we lowered nitrite, nitrogen from 0.68 milligrams per liter to 0.60 milligrams per liter. For sectors A, C, F, H, N, Q, Y, and AA, we lowered zinc from 0.60 milligrams per liter to 0.12 milligrams per liter. As a result of House Bill 4112 from the 89th legislative session, we have revised the MSGP to also include the prohibition of discharges associated with the operation of a facility that is licensed for the disposal of high-level radioactive waste. TCEQ is working on sending the revised draft MSGP to EPA to include this additional change as a result of state legislation. The general permit is currently tentatively scheduled for public notice and 30-day public comment in January of 2026. And those are all the updates.
All right, thanks, Jesse. Any questions? Yes.
Can you repeat what you said about the substantially similar outfall?
Yes.
You changed?
So we didn't necessarily change any of the requirements. We just restated, as mentioned earlier in the permit, that substantially similar outfalls may not be established for water quality monitoring requirements of parts 2, subsection B4. So part 3, subsection B4 was already in the permit.
So that's just for the TMDLs and impaired water bodies?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Those updates. We'll move over to Shannon, who's got a handful of GPs that should provide updates for.
Thank you, Greg. We have several, so bear with me. The first one is the aquaculture general permit. TCEQ is proposing to renew and amend this general permit, the TXG 130000, which authorizes discharges from an aquaculture facility or a related aquaculture activity. The renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on April 18th of 2026. EPA reviewed the draft permit package and provided an approval letter dated May 27th, 2025. We anticipate the notice of the proposed general permit will be published in the Texas Register and the Houston Chronicle this upcoming August. Significant changes to the general permit include revision of the definition of wastewater to include water from the washdown, cleaning, and flushing of sorters and tumblers, types of processing equipment now commonly used in oyster mariculture. We also revised Part 3 to allow Level 5 facilities, which are oyster maricultures, to clean system components in or over water in the state, which complies with the House Bill 609 that was signed earlier this year. And we spoke about just a little bit ago. Next general permit is the hydrostatic test general permit. We reissued this general permit, it's TXG 670000, with an effective date of April 5th, 2025. Existing permittees were required to submit a new notice of intent under the reissued permit within 90 days of the effective date to maintain coverage. So please, if you have not, go ahead and get that submitted, or you have passed that deadline to submit. And if you have not, please, your coverage has lapsed and you will need to resubmit a new NOI. under the reissue permit. The next general permit is the evaporation pond general permit. We are proposing to renew and amend this general permit number WQG 100000. It authorizes the disposal of wastewater from industrial or water treatment facilities by evaporation adjacent to water in the state. The renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on September 15th, 2025. This is a state-only permit and it does not require EPA review. TCEQ published notice of the proposed general permit in the Texas Register and in the Houston Chronicle. The comment period closed on March 10th, 2025, and adoption is proposed at the Commissioner's agenda on August 6th, later this summer, or next month. The next general permit is the conventional water treatment plant general permit. TCEQ is proposing to renew and update this general permit, which is TXG 640000. The general permit authorizes the discharge of wastewater generated as a result of conventional water treatment at water treatment facilities. The renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on October 12th. EPA reviewed the draft permit package and provided a letter of approval dated December 19th, 2024. The notice of proposed general permit was published in the Texas Register and the Houston Chronicle. The comment period closed on May 27th, 2025. Adoption is proposed to the Commissioner's agenda on September 10th, 2025. Significant changes to the general permit include addition of a daily maximum effluent limitation for discharges requiring dechlorination to be less than 0.1 milligrams per liter total residual chlorine prior to discharge if the facility is utilizing chlorination for disinfection purposes. One more general permit to update, and that is the concrete batch general permit. We are proposing to renew and amend this general permit. It's the TXG 110000. It authorizes discharges from ready-mix concrete plants, concrete products plants, and their associated facilities. The amendment with renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on November 7th, 2026. The draft permit is under development, but the TCEQ is accepting informal comments through our outreach inbox. Please, if you do submit outreach or an informal comment to the outreach inbox, please include TXG 110000 subject line.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. Any questions for Shannon? Any of those general permits? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the last segment of our agenda, the rule updates, and Brian will kick us off with talking about the dairy waste rules.
Yeah, so be happy to announce the implementation of the dairy waste bills. So as a background, this rulemaking will implement changes to rules on concentrated animal feeding operations that were made by House Bill 692 of the 88 regular session, so 2 sessions ago now. So this bill has taken a while, and we're glad to finally work our way through it. And so as a summary, it'll amend 30 TAC Chapter 321, Subchapter B, by adding new sections 321.48 and 321.49, which would allow a concentrated animal feeding operation and an unpermitted animal feeding operations to directly land apply dairy waste under emergency conditions. Also, new subchapter Q will allow entities to land apply dairy waste under emergency conditions on agricultural land that is not associated with an animal feeding operation or any other TCEQ authorization. And will amend the solid waste rules under 30 TAC Chapter 335.2 and 335.6 to exempt these activities from the permitting and notification requirements in Chapter 335. The rulemaking was adopted by the commissioners during the July 9th commission agenda and will become effective July 31st. And final update on this one after a couple of years.
Right. All right, any questions of the dairy waste rules?
Is there a definition of emergency conditions?
There is a definition in, I guess it's in both the subchapter B and subchapter Q sections, the same definition. I can't quote it. Can't quote it to you now.
Yeah,
It's a little lengthy, but yeah, you take a look at it. Should be pretty easy to put in either of those subchapters. But yeah, we can put a link in the summary notes with the meaning to the rule language, new rule language. Any other questions? Okay, one last rule update from Shannon.
And this is another one that's been around for a little while started before me, but we are carrying it through. It's the update or rulemaking to revise 30 Texas Administrative Code Chapter 217, the wastewater treatment systems design criteria, TCEQ. We are currently making revisions to the design criteria requirements for wastewater treatment systems. WQD held a kickoff meeting in November of 2020, and we received initial comments for consideration from stakeholders in late 2021. Stakeholder meetings were held in January 2023 on the collection systems and alternative collection systems, February 2023 on activated sludge later that year, March 2023 disinfection and safety, April 2023 preliminary treatment, natural treatment units, sludge processing, and subsurface drip irrigation. June 2023, we held a stakeholder meeting on the completed draft revisions in English, and in April 2024 on the completed draft revisions in Spanish. Comments from each of these stakeholder meetings are being considered. The proposed revisions that our division level engineers are currently working on include making changes to subchapter C for collection system requirements, partially expanding the section on reclaimed water distribution systems, updating the emergency power requirements for critical components of both the collection systems and the water treatment facilities, adding the requirements for nutrient removal, and moving chapter 222, subchapter D for subsurface area drip dispersal systems to chapter 217 as new subchapter I. And we will be concurrently repealing subchapter D from chapter 222 when we do that.
Thank you, Shannon. Any questions about the design criteria rules?
During the SADS under the 222D, you're just moving it. There's not any changes to 222.
I would not commit to no changes to 222 when that move happens, but they are definitely moving it. I have not received an outline of any changes that are planned yet for that particular subchapter.
Any other questions for Shannon, or we'll just go ahead and widen it out to any other of the topics that have been discussed? Anything else on your mind?
Can you give an update on water quality assessment modeling backlog or municipal TBS grants?
Yeah, question is about the just the extraordinary workload, pending workload in our step of the process or permit processing line that involves dissolved oxygen modeling. Nothing concrete to report as far as any new or revised approaches, but I will say we are adding additional staff to that team to obviously help with the workload. So that's what I can say for now, but we'll certainly keep you posted as we try to implement other things to help alleviate that situation. So, any other questions in the room or online? Let's see. We do have a 217 question on chapter 217. If there's an update on the rule concerning reclaimed water, or is there an update on the rule concerning reclaimed water distribution systems? What were the changes that were implemented? Is that, that might be
The other rulemaking that was adopted February.
I think so. Chapter
21. Reclaimed water distribution systems in chapter P.
right.
I'm not prepared to provide an update on that. I think you're talking about implementing another Senate bill from the 88th legislative session that Brian was previously speaking on. It's SB 1289. Even though on the update for 217 I just provided, we are making some updates to the reclaimed water distribution system design requirements. The Senate Bill 1289 from the 88th legislative session allowed us or was implemented and went before the commission for adoption in February of this year. I think we provided our last update on that, Erica, to the previous water quality work group. But let me see if, and I apologize, I haven't given the updates on this. So, but essentially the Senate Bill 1289 allowed for disposal of excess reclaimed water via contract instead of through a TEPTES permitted facility. And so that those rules were revised and adopted in February. And if you want to, we can include a link to those in the comments that we send out afterwards.
That was great. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. Kind of rehash what we went over, and unfortunately I'm forgetting about last time. So we'll include those in the meeting notes that we post after today's meeting. But thank you for your question. Any others?
Can you give an update on when the small MS4 permissible NOIs will be approved?
Okay. So yeah, the phase 2 is for applications for NOIs and waivers for the permit that was just renewed. We have started the review of the applications. We are actively working on those. We did receive about 650 applications that are in the system. Net MS4 system, it shows on hold, but that means that they were submitted to us. We are actively working on the 116 that are being reviewed. So we have approved some, we've denied some. We have sent NODs already through the system for several, and then we're actively working on reviewing about 80 applications as well. So we are, now fully immersed in that. We are seeing some issues. As you know, the system, EPA system and our systems don't communicate, so they don't validate and confirm information. So it's requiring us to still do a review, not extensively like before, because there's not a stormwater management program being submitted. But we are looking at the discharge water body information. We are looking at operator information. Did they pay? Some people are paying or paid the wrong fee. They selected the wrong e-pay option, and instead of paying the $400, they paid $325, I believe. So they paid less. So we're going through that process, and of course, the core data form it's attached, and some people are not signing. The right authorized signatory is not signing the core data form as they should be signing, as the instructions sent in the NOI that needs to be signed by an authorized signatory. So that's causing some issues as well. But we are actively working on it. Thank you.
Second. Any other questions? See any? Okay. Well, then just a couple of announcements before we close the meeting. The next quarterly meeting in October will be on the 14th at the normal time, 1:30 in the afternoon. We'll let you know where we decide to hold that meeting. it's clear that we'll next time need a bigger room. And apologies again for any inconveniences for those who showed up in person to a little standing room only situation here. But background is that we're not able to meet where we normally do for various reasons, and that could persist for a while. Hopefully by October we're back to normal, but if not, we'll again try to do our best to find a larger room to hold the meeting for those who choose to attend in person. So we'll let you know about that as we get closer to that meeting date, as far as where the location will be. And then lastly, just a little blurb or pitch for EPA's have a technical assistance group that deals with failing septic systems. And so just wanted to put that in the agenda at the bottom for anyone you or anyone you may know who might be in a situation with failing septic systems. Their technical assistance group can provide some resources, some assistance depending on the situation. So there is a URL link at the bottom there of the agenda that you can click on to submit information about your particular situation, and hopefully they can help. So just making you aware of that. And with that, that is the end of our meeting. Thanks again for everyone who came in person, and for those attending online, we appreciate your participation and hope you have a good rest of your afternoon, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much. Take care.